Today's training is going to cover the RFP evaluation tool from the standpoint of an evaluator. So we already had training yesterday on how an evaluation would come in and create an evaluation with criteria items, solicitation information, suppliers, and different criteria weights. So that training covered how to set up the evaluation. Today's training is just going to cover how to come into the tool and participate in an evaluation if you were invited. I am using an actual user. So Paul, if you're in the room, I'm using your user today to demonstrate this training so you can see it from an actual user perspective. So you'll come to the BidSync website. I'm using our training environment, but you will be using production, which is www.bidsync.com, and you'll log in with your username and password. Now, when evaluations are set up in production, email notifications go out. And I don't mention this yet, but email notifications do not work in the training environment. So for testing purposes, if you've set up an evaluation or you've set up workflows or anything in the system that would normally kick off an email notification to the user, that doesn't happen within training. So in this instance, Paul wouldn't know in the training environment if he's been invited to participate in an evaluation. So the creator of the evaluation will need to offline let those users know there's an evaluation for them to come in and evaluate on. Along the toolbar, we have the home screen. When you log in, the home screen will always be the first place that you see. There may be announcements here for you to review, or links to other things that you might have to take care of if you have other responsibilities in the tool besides an evaluation. We've talked about these other tabs in previous trainings, so if those are tabs that you need to be familiar with, please review those recordings. But today we're going to focus on the Source tab and the RFP Eval section. So if your user has been invited to participate in an evaluation, you will come to Source and select RFP Eval. In the current evaluation section, it will show any evaluations that you have been invited to. So some users could see more than one evaluation here if they've been invited to multiple. You could see nothing, or you could just see one, depending upon what evaluations you've been invited to. To start looking at the evaluation, you will select the link, and this will take you into the evaluation detail that the creator has provided you with. So here we can see the title, we can see a closing date. Now the system doesn't automatically close the evaluation at this time. The admin creator has to manually come in and close the evaluation. However, this date is to let you know that the evaluator will be closing the evaluation at this time. So you need to make sure to come in and complete your evaluation before the closing date. The max score was inputted by the creator, as well as any bid notes for you to be aware of. If there's any attachments for you to view on the evaluation level, so the evaluation as a whole, those attachments will be listed here for you to download and view. In this case, it's just a fake document that I added for creation, but you would have all the details in there from the document to view. And you also have the ability to email if you needed to. So you do have the option to send out emails here. Most likely this tool will be used by the actual admin evaluators so that they can notify you internally of information, or they can notify suppliers. The evaluators that have been selected to evaluate in this evaluation are listed here in the evaluation section, or the evaluator section. The criteria items are the items that you will be evaluating on. And it's always best to come in and open up these individual criteria items, because there's additional information and sometimes attachments here as well for you to review. So our first evaluation is past performance. It's 50% of the weight. and it is 0 to 10. And then we have the qualification admin, or the qualification criteria item. We can see here that there is a document. And for looking at number 2, there's a document here as well. Now, once you start the evaluation, that information does not show. This attachment doesn't show on the next page. So if this is information that you're needing to have while you're evaluating, you will need to download this and save it, or just hold it, minimize it, so that you have it available once you get to that criteria item. If we scroll down, we can see the suppliers that have been brought over to evaluate. If you need to deep dive into the supplier information, you can click on the supplier's name, and it will take you into the vendor management tool once it loads. That provides you information about the vendor itself. So you can see the vendor name, address, phone number. You could see if they had any qualifications here on their account. So if they hold any qualifications, this is where you would have that information. Now, if you get to the bottom of the screen and all you're seeing is closed, what that means is that the evaluator has not started the evaluation. So you're not able to participate in it and to evaluate it until you have a evaluate link. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of the admin perspective, so you can see what the admin actually has to do to start the evaluation. I believe this was our admin user that created it. So if you ever get to that point where you see that there is a current evaluation, but it does not have a way for you to evaluate, that means that the evaluator has not started it. So the evaluator actually has to come in, and this detail looks exactly the same as what you were doing. However, they have to start the evaluation. So for those admin users in the room, make sure that you start the evaluation. Otherwise, the evaluators will not have access to evaluate. So now that the evaluation has been started, we can log back in as an evaluator, and we can begin evaluating on that solicitation. So source, RFP eval. Same thing, click on the link. And now at the bottom, we should see evaluate. So that's a key piece that you need to be able to come and evaluate. Once you select evaluate, it will take you into where you can start the evaluation process. You do have the top portion of the evaluation. So any documents that the evaluator or the creator had added for the evaluation as a whole will remain here. But now, instead of having the documents inside of the evaluation, what you're seeing is the individual suppliers and the different criteria items to come and evaluate off of. You're not seeing that original document that was attached to the criteria when we are back at the main screen. So that's why I suggested you downloaded that document, so if you ever needed it, you have it available to review as you're evaluating. To start the evaluation process, you will open the box so that it will drop down the 3 different criteria. For each criteria, you can manually enter in a score, or you can use the dial here to change that. You have a notes box, and you can upload attachments. So here we can see that we need to rank between 0 to 10. In the notes section, it said on that option that 10 was the highest. So we're going to rate based off of the past performance and the information that we have available to review, either here or in documents that we've downloaded. You can also move this to change your numbering system if you need to. I find it's just easier to go ahead and type in a number. The note section is the ability for you to leave notes on this criteria item. These notes get held with your evaluation and are sent over to the creator for review. So you can leave notes here. You could also upload your own attachments, and it's just searching for a file off your computer and then attaching that file and submitting it, which will then show up on the criteria. So the next criteria item is qualifications. Again, we're just evaluating the 2R drilling incorporated. You would again come in and put in your score, leave notes, and upload any attachments if you wanted to send over any additional information. So maybe notes here or an attachment would be why you evaluated, why you gave them the score, just any supporting documentation that you would like the admin to be aware of. The next is location. And notes. So keep in mind that the scoring does change depending on how the creator created it. It's not always going to be 0 through 10. It can be whatever the creator had listed it as. Now there is a little box icon. I like to call this a sticky note because that's what it reminds me of, but a little sticky note section. If you open that up, you're able to leave notes for the vendor as a whole. So each note section here was for the individual criteria item, but the note section here is for the vendor as a whole. So that will always be held there. If you've inputted a note, you can come in and remove that note and save it. And those notes get sent over to the creator as well. Now, in your evaluation, if you are evaluating quite a few suppliers and you need to do it in stages, you can do that. You will just save. That will save the information you've done so far. You can move throughout the tool. You could log out, and then you can come back at a later time to complete your evaluation. You just will need to, again, come to Source, RFP Eval, select the evaluation that you're working on, and then start working on your evaluation again. So with our criteria items, you'll have to come back down and evaluate. Then you'll be able to deep dive into those vendors and the criteria items. So all of our information has saved from the first evaluation we did when we started. You will open the box to start evaluating the next supplier, which is ARS Rescue Router. So go ahead and put in your scoring, put in your documentation or your notes if you needed to, any supporting documents you'd like to attach, you have that access. And then again, you have a section for each supplier to leave a note for the supplier as a whole. I'm going to evaluate our last vendor. You do not have to put in notes. You do not have to upload documentation. That's not required in the evaluation. However, if you need to prove that you evaluated the way you did or why you evaluated the way you did, notes are always helpful. Documentation is always helpful. So now that I've completed my evaluation, I'm going to hit save just to save that data. And then I can review my evaluation here. So I can open back up the vendor scoring, just double check everything. And then once I'm ready, I can finalize my score. Now, finalizing your score does require you to put in your password, which is your electronic signature. On this page, it's also a review page. So you can see each vendor. Each vendor has each criteria item located under their name with the weight, the score that you gave them, the percent, and the total points. So you can review here as well. You will have to put in your password, which is your electronic signature, signing that you confirm your evaluation. And now our evaluation has been confirmed. Now, if you remember when we were first looking at the evaluation, we had until, I believe it was the 10th of August to complete our evaluation. So even though we have finalized and submitted our evaluation, we can still come in and make edits and then save those edits until the evaluation has been closed out by the creator. Every time you make a change and you save that change and finalize it, it does not send over every little change with your offer, with your evaluation. It's going to send over the last saved evaluation that you completed. So I'm going through and making changes if I needed to. And then I'm going to finalize my score again, review here, put in my password to sign, and confirm. So now what will happen is when the evaluation closes, this last saved evaluation is what will get sent over to the creator. At this point, I'm done with the evaluation. I do not need to do anything else with it. It's basically just going to sit in the current evaluation section until my evaluation is closed and ready to be reviewed by the creator. So I don't need to do anything at this point if I'm done. Again, if you need to make edits, you can make edits, but you can only do that while the evaluation is still live. Once the evaluation has been closed, it will move over to a past evaluation section where then the evaluators can go through and review, but you also have access to come in as an evaluator and see past evaluations. But what we're looking here is the evaluation that you submitted. You have a detail screen that you can see over here. And this does show the different evaluators and how they came in and evaluated. So you do have that detail screen for each vendor. You can also come in and see the evaluation per user. So this is just kind of a history of the evaluation that was submitted.
Shannon?
Yes.
Quick question. Can an evaluator only see somebody else's scores after the evaluation has been completed?
Correct. So during the current evaluation, all you have access to see is yourself, like your scores, what you've done. Once it closes and ends up in past evaluations, you then have access to see a history of the scoring. But during the current evaluation status, that information is not available. You're just seeing your own.
Shannon, this is Harold. I have a quick question for you. This may be an internal question. The creator, who is the creator? Is that going to be someone in procurement, or is that going to be the team leader on the particular RFP?
It'll be someone in procurement.
And so the admin evaluator will be the team leader?
The administrator of the evaluation will be somebody in procurement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for addressing that. So the past evaluation section, as you can see, I can't evaluate anymore. I can't edit. I can't make changes. It's just history of what was submitted. Now, if for whatever reason, a admin or the creator of the evaluation closed the evaluation and you were not completed, that creator could go in and reopen the evaluation, but then it would kick it back to a current status. Normally that doesn't happen because they give you a timeline to get everything completed in hopes that you will use that time wisely. So the evaluation process is, again, very easy to come in and evaluate. It's basically just clicking on your current evaluation section if you're not already there, selecting the evaluation, reviewing the information, putting in your scoring, submitting your scoring, and then waiting till it closes. You do have access again to view the past evaluation, which shows your evaluation as well as other evaluator scoring, but that's pretty much all that you'll have access to see. So are there any questions that we can get addressed? What was just asked?
I don't know if this is I'm sorry, this is Latanya. I don't know if this is a question for you, but what role would the chairman of the selection committee play now?
Okay, so the RFP chair will play a role very similar to what they play today. Let's imagine that Harold is the RFP chair for the police IVR system. When Harold was working with procurement in the development of the RFP, we had discussions about what category do you want to score these upcoming proposals on, and what weights do you want to give them. That RFP went out on the street. These proposers looked at what tabs they have to fill out, what kind of information they need to provide, and they also became familiarized with how they would be evaluated. After, either during the creation of the RFP itself or while the RFP is out, the agent will go into the RFP Admin tool and begin to set up those categories in the evaluation. We will also input who is on the RFP committee so that when the RFPs close and our agents have done their due diligence to make sure that the responses that we ask you to evaluate are responsive, we will then open up the evaluation. We will have, like we have today, a kickoff meeting where the agent will say, welcome to the evaluation process associated with this RFP number, whatever. For those of you who have never been an evaluator before, here are your roles and responsibilities. Now that we have a system, we may also include our training about what does it mean to be an RFP evaluator? What are the do's and don'ts in evaluating an RFP? We will give everybody a snapshot on what your responsibilities are and when we're hoping that you will have your evaluations done by. With respect to the scoring of cost, that particular evaluation criteria called cost, which wasn't in Shannon's example this morning, would be there, but only the agent can score that. For the evaluation criteria called local preference or the evaluation criteria called MBE, that would only be scored by the appropriate person. So LaTanya, you or Shanae or Daryl will get an email saying that a particular RFP is ready to be evaluated. When you go in, you will only be able to see the NBE portion. Okay? We will make available to you all the attachments associated with the proposal, the vendor's NBE plan, and all the required NBE attachments, so that you will be able, without printing or emailing attachments, you'll be able to go into this tool and get everything that you need so that you can perform your evaluation. Okay. Then, all scoring will be completed individually, like it is done today, at your own work locations, and then we will set up a scoring meeting. Okay? Scoring will not have closed, but you will hopefully have done the evaluation work that you needed to do, and we will have a scoring meeting very similar to what we have today. You will be able to talk about the score that you provided. You will be able to ask clarification related to a particular category if there was a question, and whatever adjustments you were able to do, you would still be able to do because it would still be open. Okay? This system, through the evaluation tool, will be able to also lead us through multiple scoring. Like, say, for instance, you have an initial scoring that just determines a short list for vendors who come in and do demos. That will be your initial scoring. We can rescore, or we can set up a new evaluation for scoring after demos. Okay? So, yes, there will be some changes, but we feel that as evaluators, and if my interpretation of your questions and how I'm envisioning our future processes will work, I hope that you agree that it will have a lot of similarity and that you will not be walking something unprepared on what to do. Okay? All right. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, also,
Yeah.
also you might mention that, let's just say they haven't taken notes or anything like that. You can go into the training section and it will walk you through and tell you what you need to do.
Right.
You can contact support anytime and they'll answer any question you have. So it makes it a lot easier, you know, 'cause I took all these notes, but if I have trouble, I can talk to one of the other agents or I can contact support and get the information I need. So we're not throwing you in the dark. You know, it's real simple to go through, and what they're going to also do is come up with a little group of forms. This is what you do first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So you'll be able to have that, and this recording will be made available to you and everybody else so that you see how they do it. So it's going to be very simple to follow.
Let me ask a question. Let's say if you have a protest of an award, how is that going to work? Meaning that each evaluator, each committee member on that team has the ability to score here in the system and also make notes. Would that be shared? We have someone to contest the award, or we're only reading from the leader?
Like we do today,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to answer your question about potential protest. Score sheets are, you know, filled out today, okay? What we do on our master score sheet is we replace Harold with scorer number 1, Spencer with scorer number 2, et cetera, okay? We're going to be able to do the same thing from the reports that come out of it. We will take out your email ID and say scorer number 1. But it is important that we do know your notes. What were you thinking? How did you justify it? So unfortunately, that notes field is not required, but we certainly encourage people to take notes and give notes either related to that particular category or the vendor overall. Because it might help you 2 weeks later remember, why did I give them that score?
Andre, one other thing, the notes really are important, especially if there's areas of deficit. If we need to go back and seek more clarification, or if we should go into negotiations with a firm, it might not be 2 weeks later, it might be a month or 2 later, and those are the items that we really need as talking points or negotiation points to start on. So it is critical if it's that important that it can be repeated, it can be shared, but if it's that important, it needs to be included or considered as part of it, it should be in there.
Okay. Thank
you. In the example that we showed today, it was scoring 1 to 10. Okay, currently we score 1 to 5 multiplied by a factor. As you saw here today, there was also a factor where they called it a weight. This particular score is worth 50% of the total point. Okay, that's the same thing as our factor. Okay. The scoring will be a little bit different, but I'm going to begin an educational and communication process as we get closer to our release as to how RFP teams in the city will begin calculating scores using the new tool. Okay. We're also thinking about changing our process from a 0 to 5 to a 0 to 10 because citywide, we've had a few really close RFPs, and we're hoping that by giving you a few more ways to measure things that are, you know, it's easier to say the difference between a 5 and a 7 versus a 4 and a 5. The scores are getting a little too close. Okay, so we're going to we're real close to changing it from 0 to 10, okay? Shannon, anything you'd like to add based upon the question you heard?
Yeah, so just to kind of touch a little bit on what you were referring to as kind of private criteria items. So Andre mentioned that some users will only have the ability to evaluate off of certain criteria items that have been created. So a creator does have the ability to create a private criteria item and then only invite a specific evaluator or a few evaluators to come in and evaluate on just that item. So you may see that there would be a criteria item here for price. However, once you go into evaluate, you wouldn't have access to evaluate on it. And that's because your user was in the right to evaluate that criteria item. So if you are an evaluator and there is a criteria item that you know that you should evaluate on, but you cannot, it's most likely because it was set up as private and your user was not given the right. So in that case, you'll need to contact a creator or an admin and let them know so they can go in and make sure that you have the right to evaluate off of that criteria item. Also, I want to talk to you about the support portal. It was brought up a little bit, but for those that haven't been on a training session yet, there is a support portal that's available for you to access. It does require you to create a sign up. And once you have signed up for that, you have access into all of the user manuals that are held here in the support portal. So if you're needing to know how to evaluate, you can type in a keyword, you can see what comes up, and then pick the one that best represents what you're looking for. So responding to an evaluation is what we did today. And this is a step-by-step guide that will walk you through how to respond to an evaluation. There also, which was mentioned, is once you are live, you will have access to our agency support department. You can email them with any questions and they'll respond back to you. You can also call them and they'll respond back to you. That information will be made available to you once your account is live. Now for training purposes, Andre has your login information. It's basically going to be your email address and the word test so that you can access the system. You'll go to training.bidsync.com and Andre has that URL he can provide you, as well as the support portal URL, so that you can go ahead and sign in so you can gain access to the user guide information. But what you will want to do is to go into training once you've been invited to an evaluation and practice evaluating so that you are becoming familiar with the system before the account goes live and before you're having to actually participate in a live evaluation. We want to make sure that you're getting practice in the training environment. So Andre will provide you your login information, the URL to training, and the URL to the support portal. Now, if anybody is an evaluator creator in the room, please make sure that once you've set up an evaluation, you notify the evaluators offline so they are aware that they can go in and start practicing or testing an evaluation in the training environment. Is there any other questions we can address before we end the training session today?
Is it license specific? Is there a threshold of how many users have access?
Shannon, the question that was asked was, is there a limit to the number of people that can be evaluators?
No, you could add as many evaluators as you'd like. Your account also has, I believe, unlimited users. So if you need to create additional users to be evaluators in the tool, you can do that at no additional cost.
Over the course of our implementation, we looked at all of the city departments and we looked at who our main contacts are and who are our people who have evaluated in the past. You know, we know that you may not have an RFP coming up or starting in the next 6 weeks. So yes, we will give you an opportunity to test. Sometime next week, we'll set up an RFP and invite you all to evaluate it. And we'll do some MBEs so that we can test the private evaluation component. So we'll give you all an opportunity to see this again. I really can't think of too much else to, add at this point. I think we've covered a lot, but I just want everyone to feel comfortable in that, yes, we're going to a new system. In the past, our system just notified vendors of an opportunity. Now we're giving our vendors the opportunity to propose electronically. We're going to give evaluators the opportunity to score electronically. We're trying to remove some of the paper and the coordination, and we're trying to relieve our purchasing agents from having to develop spreadsheets with formulas that can be error prone when we're putting together the scoring of these evaluations. Same thing with bids. We have, bids that go out with 50 items. Sometimes 3 vendors do it, sometimes 5 vendors do it. We're not all perfect with Excel, but we're looking forward to using BidSync to help us in determination of lowest price bids, best value to the city, and how an RFP is scored. Okay? And we see that this system gives us the opportunity to score the way that we score. It is also customizable and configurable, and we have ways to present to our city commission our recommendations for award in a very similar format that we do today. And all of this data, even though it resides in an internet-based website that is hosted, there are reporting tools that give us the ability to download this information and put it into our on-base system so that all of our city records are maintained. Okay.
And also, LaTanya, on IFBs for construction and any other RFQs or anything where you might be asked to be evaluated, we will set you up for the MBE.
Shannon, any closing remarks?
No, I think that you guys have addressed a lot of questions, internal processes, which is great, and which will be on the recording. So if anybody has not been able to attend this training, they will also have that information that was discussed. But I will make this training available to Andre, and then he can post that somewhere internally on a shares drive or wherever you can gain access to specific data or videos, so that you always have this training available if you need to review it when the time comes for you to participate in evaluation. If there are any additional questions, please reach out to Andre. If he can't address the question, then he will reach out to myself and I will respond back to him with an answer. Other than that, if there's no questions, we can go ahead and end our training session today for the RFP evaluation tool.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. It was nice speaking with you today.
All right. See you around at 1.
Okay, goodbye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we're doing another one.
Okay, well, thank you.